Alright everybody, welcome to the stream. We're going to continue Shiva today, hopefully not to be interrupted by restream not working. I'm going to start recording this. We're going to work in the grayscale. We're probably going to just treat it as I normally do. We'll see. I am going to use some reference from Granblue to try to paint girls as girly as possible, the girl in this case, and see what happens. So the ice is not necessary for now. I don't know if I'm gonna use all three layers, because if I do, it might become a problem. So we'll see. Multiply water fringe. Let's see. I'm gonna have to use a soft brush for her to start with, because she's a soft girl. Chase should join us soon. Oh, there you go. Sure. So I was actually testing out another rendering method today. Not very different. I might even use it for Shiva, I'm not sure. Probably should be same as Ifrit. But speaking of Ifrit, I actually got the t-shirt today, and it's good. It is good, so you can expect soon enough to have t-shirts available in body. Yes, sir. I wonder if this should still be dark. I guess a little bit, to a degree. It's kind of transparent, but so yeah, I got the Ifrit t-shirt and it looks awesome. So I'm gonna start. Maybe you can give some way to start with. We'll see, because I have to figure out how to set up Printful since it does not have a store, but you have to have your own. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. I think I'm gonna leave the... I don't know, she looks a little bit cross-eyed, just a little bit. Just a little bit cross-eyed. Maybe I can move... Maybe I should move the eye a little bit. I don't know, it feels like it's a little too close at the moment. Maybe a little better like this. Probably gonna leave her like that. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a good almost weekend. Here it's Friday. It's Friday and the weekend is starting at this point for a lot of people. If it's evening, I assume. I just hope it's gonna go well for you guys. So speaking of the other rendering method, I'm basically trying to render lights instead of shadows, although it kind of is the same. So I'm painting the shadows here because I'm used to doing it, but technically with the other method, you already give the painting a color that's in the shadow. So you give it the base ambient light color, and then you paint the light. So instead of doing this, you paint the opposite. So like you erase, basically, you erase that. Like when I use the other layer, like if I use this and I go in and erase from here, something like doing this, right? So I go in and I erase parts of it. It's kind of like that. It's not very different. I am debating which one I want to use. Painting the lights seems more natural to me, quite frankly. So we'll see. We'll see what to do. I might also reduce some of that. Probably need actually some reference for the hair. Grand blue fantasy hair. I don't think we need that. Nope. Yes. Erase. Erase. As I said yesterday, we're not going to be able to finish this, but I am going to obviously publish the time lapse of this. So hopefully you can enjoy that. If you want to see the finish, that is. And I know you do. I know you do. At least for this, though, I'm going to continue using the usual rendering method and see how that works. Not only because it's, well, I'm faster, obviously, but I have to test out the other a little better before I actually commit. I did draw something with it today. I actually tried it on the rat as well. And it's different. It's different. I would like to retain more color in the shadows, and that's one way to do it. Because right now, I could probably actually start with this one, like adding different colors for different shadow types. Like this one, I guess for this one, I can add the ambient light, or I can make it the ambient light color. And the other, ones are probably going to be different. Like, my main concern is the core shadow, because this should be enough of a core shadow, like the base one should be enough of a core shadow, so that when I add to the bounce light, basically. Oh hey, yo, Friday. Yes, it is Friday. Hello Fiddle, how are you doing? I was just talking about an alternative rendering method that I'm trying to work on. Very similar, still in Psy. I can use Clip Studio as well, actually. I just kind of like the water fringe effect that Psy has. I don't think I'm ready to give that up yet.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
I was talking to the mic, and the one time I don't check my voice settings, it changes it.
That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. How are you doing? Teeth-wise, you said it's a little better?
Yeah. I mean, yesterday I couldn't speak for... I think the anesthesia wore off about 30 minutes after your stream.
Okay.
But yeah, I had like a bit of a chalky taste, which is pretty normal after getting put in, but they do look much significantly better. They got rid of a lot of the decay in one of the molars and just filled it out, so pretty good.
Nice. That's good. That is good. I'm gonna have to check my teeth too when I go back to Japan. Because it's cheaper, simply. At this point, I'm happy to just stay cheap. Quite frankly.
Yeah, that's the nice thing. At least it's fillings. Fillings aren't too bad. It would be different if they had to do like root canals, but they said that's not an issue for me.
Okay, that's good. I only have one, but that one, man, is a problem. I don't think it's ever gonna stop hurting every now and then, because they did it very, very bad. It was gone, completely gone to the deepest parts of the tooth. So when they did it wrong. Not in Japan, actually. They did it in Italy. It was Christmas, so the dentist was like, "Yeah, let's just do it." And so he did it, and he closed the tooth, but it was still infected underneath, so it kept hurting. And 6 months later, I had to open it up and redo the root canal. And then they gave me like a temporary filling. It was not a crown. It was just a generic filling
material.
Yeah, to just not spend too much money back then. And it stayed. Then I went to Japan. I was eating a pizza and it cracked, split open, and so I had to go to the dentist and have it replaced. But then
that happens.
Yeah. And then 2 years later, it started hurting like hell, and I'm like, what's going on here? And so I had I had an X-ray, and it was completely rotten inside, like to the bone, to the actual bone of the maxilla, and because it's the top one. And so they said, you know what? Let's split the tooth. So they took out the actual tooth. So they did a partial extraction. It was extremely painful. Like my head hurts so much I'm gonna throw up at some point. Type of painful. And now every now and then it hurts, but it's hopefully good. Not sure for how long, but
yeah, none of my teeth are that bad, but I can definitely empathize with the pain.
It was really painful. Really, really painful. Tooth pain.
Actually, American dentists are usually pretty good with that kind of thing. Like, very expensive, but you are paying for like quality care. And for me, I'm paying out of pocket, so because I don't have insurance. That's the worst thing about it. But yeah, I mean, I haven't like had really big issues with pain. They're very good at like, providing you with medications and things like that, and they give you specific instructions of, when the anesthesia starts to wear off, make sure to take like a couple of Advil and ibuprofen and things like that.
That's something they did not tell me in Japan, so I was wondering, like, I was at the supermarket, the grocery store, and it's like, God, I cannot stand up anymore. Literally, I was dying. So I know the pain. Oh well. Yeah, stream was sad yesterday without you and the usual interesting things we talk about when you're on.
Yeah, I wasn't really in a state to want to speak to anyone.
That would have been fun though. Like, I don't know.
It wasn't that bad, but I was very muffled. Like I could only speak out of one side of my mouth. I actually went to a drive-thru to get food right after the surgery.
Oh well. Wonder what I thought. But yeah.
It's like, can I get a bacon cheeseburger plain?
You should have been. You should have told them something like Johnny. That would have been appropriate, I guess. Must have sounded a lot like Forrest Gump.
In my burger, do you mind putting in a couple of stem cells to help me out here?
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna cast a shadow on all this. Casting shadows. Oh, Shiva.
Okay, Nemo. So you have been watching my progress with doing spriting.
Yes.
But I do have a question for you that it's not necessarily just sprites, but more in general in terms of design.
Yes.
So I've made like a couple of robot designs.
Yes.
And one of the issues I'm having is like being able to, especially in a sprite form, being able to convey like the metallic surface sprite. Do you have any pointers for that?
On the
in
sprite,
terms of like coloration and
use a lot of contrast. If you want something to look metallic, you gotta use a lot of contrast on the same color. Usually the difference between light and dark areas, considering simply light and dark, like what's in the light and what's in the shadow, not like deep crevices, it's about 20. So midtones to shadows like about 60 to 40. So if 60, like 60 in 0 being black and 100 being white, 60 is usually midtones, 80 is lighter midtones or highlights, and 40 is shadows. So you don't go lighter than 30. You can also use this, like the color picker should have like hue saturation value, and you pick something in along these lines for a matte color. If you want to use, if you want the thing to look metallic, you gotta go beyond that. So you gotta make the lights lighter and the darks darker, pretty much. And if it's reflective, you have to imagine something that it's reflecting. So pretend there is something in the environment and it's reflecting that.
Well, whenever I make a sprite, I always put the light source in like the top left. So that's why I always put like
this is the thing. It doesn't really follow the form the form principle, which means that if something is, like you take Chrome for example, Chrome is not like wherever your light source is, Chrome is not going to have the terminator of the shadow on the Chrome. You will not be able to see it because it's reflecting everything. So what you have is that you actually see the scene, that's the environment that's around it. So the only tip I can give is try to imagine some sort of environment it has around. Like if I wanted to make say I want to make the thigh reflective. Like I did this because the light is coming from the top, but this is not, to a degree it might work for reflective stuff. But if it's extremely reflective, you don't really care about, like you can have a where is it? Multiply. You can have a shadow like here, and maybe one side is very sharp, and then it does this, and then you have another here, something like that. But then you have a sliver of light here, and maybe if it rounds out there, it becomes something like that. But that will need to be, like, if I lock the opacity now, I can go a little darker in it. Like maybe like it goes something like this, and then there is a light that like that. Obviously it doesn't look much like that now, but if I go on top and add shine, for example, maybe too much, then it's gonna start looking like, hey, that is kind of metallic now, a little bit, something like that. So if you look from very, very, very far away, and depending on what's in the environment, obviously without color it's kind of weird, but it's something like that basically. Also, if it's like brushed metal, you can simply where is it? You can simply blur it. It's gonna be easier to tell it's metal if you blur it. Like you make the you still add very high contrast, but you blur the stuff that you put on top, like something like this, for example. Something like that, maybe.
Well, I don't want to.
Something like this.
Take over your stream for a second. Can you look at this real quick? Like an example. I was looking at. Let me share screen.
What stream? Okay.
So this isn't something I made. This is actually like part of one of the RPG Maker packages, like a sprite that they made.
It feels kind of matte to me. The only kind of more metallic thing is the highlight. So if you take plain white and add it where, like, on the actual highlight, inside the highlight you make a smaller like sliver of light that's brighter than that, it should help. And also make some shadows, like you add another darker reflective shadow somewhere. that should help.
Honestly, I like the outline of this, but I do notice that they basically pillow shade it.
Yeah. It's not really particular in terms of lighting. So...
Well, I mean, like if you're still looking at it, like on the back here, they do seem to add like a light source to the left, which is why there's like this little reflection, these two reflection blocks. But then the rest of it doesn't really conform to that.
No,
so...
yeah, it's not there. It's just from the... Well, it changes depending on how the sprite is, because it's like on the top, then it's in the front. So it kind of changes a little bit. So...
Actually, that's
not
maybe
bad,
not
though.
a good example of something.
It's
yeah,
not
I mean,
too
I like
bad,
the
though.
design, but it's not a good example of something metallic.
That is a good design, though, yeah. What was it here? So anyway, yeah, the discriminant is usually how much contrast there is. If it's brushed metal, mostly. Otherwise, basically you have to reflect what's around it, or you make it up, which is what usually happens. Usually just make it up. So...
Yeah, I guess I'll have to look up some robot sprites or something to get a feel for it.
Probably. It's not easy though to, especially for pixel art, I guess, to draw reflective stuff. Not that easy. Not easy.
I'm probably being overly anal about it, to be honest. I don't think.
I mean,
people care
yeah,
that
I don't
much,
think
but-
anyone like. I don't even know if they pay attention to the sprite being actually reflective. I'm not even sure it's something I've ever noticed. Like, oh yeah, this monster sprite looks reflective, because it's so small. I mean, you can probably convey it the way I said, but I don't think you'll find someone who complains about it. See how it looks. I mean, it can look good even matte, probably. Even if it's matte. Speaking of reflectivity, I'm thinking if these are supposed to be gold, I should probably change up what I'm doing a little bit. If these are indeed supposed to be gold. I'm not sure yet. Because they are
Well,
gold.
I found
like, yeah.
I found a sprite with a doctor in my files, and the doctor has like a head mirror, and the way that they do the head mirror is an interesting choice.
Blue?
I might use. No. It's like a silver head mirror, but like I think they do the reflection better off of it.
To be honest, in the only sprite work I've done, I just did the classic two streaks of light on blue for glasses. So that's what I did. For these, I think these are supposed to be golden. Damn it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out something different. So I guess some of these are gonna be sort of reflective. The spears are not. The spears are gonna have some darkness inside, because that's how ice works. At least in this kind of illustration, I noticed that it's a good. It looks good if you make the inside of the ice darker. It's gonna have reflections on top, but the core part of the ice will have to be dark. And I'm noticing I did not paint the bandaging, the band-aids on the darn spear. You're gonna have to do it now. So that's what happens when you are talking and drawing at the same time. Okay, no big deal.
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of sprites right now, and I noticed that in comparison to many sprites that people make, I feel like mine, the coloration is actually a little more complex than most sprites.
It could be, yes. Sprite work, there's a lot of nuances, and usually they tend to be pretty simple. Even if they're not, like, it's complicated to figure out, but they end up looking simple somehow.
Like, the Daku, that green orb alien I sent you, like the design itself is pretty simple, but actually when you scroll in, it's pretty complex in terms of color.
Yeah.
Like lots of intermixtures of colors. I mean, the greens on the body, for instance.
Yeah, it is. I think, yeah, maybe you are overcomplicating a little bit. But that's where my knowledge ends, because I'm not good with sprites.
Oh, I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's like an aesthetic choice. If you
yeah, obviously, yeah. If that's what you want, yeah. As long as you're happy with it, that's fine.
Yeah. I just feel like if I'm going to do that, then I should make that a little consistent across all the sprites.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense.
Because I do find myself often like dithering the surfaces of them to make the, I don't know, to make it seem more texturized rather than a sort of blank color.
Hmm.
And a lot of sprites I see use lots of solid colors. With,
yeah,
like,
it depends
it's
on the
basically
style.
a solid color. It's like a solid color on the bodies for a lot of sprites, and then like the edges usually have different shades. But the actual bodies themselves, when you look at it from a distance, it's like basically one block of color.
Yeah. It really depends on the style you want to go for. Like Final Fantasy VI has very blocky, or even the pixel remasters, they have a lot of blocky shapes for the characters, but the monsters are dithered, especially if you take the bigger monsters. So it really depends on the art direction or the direction you want to take these.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going for something a little more complicated than that. That's why, like, I'm looking at like the Brave Exvius sprites, for instance, because I think that those are like just so masterfully done in terms of the complexity and the coloration and so forth. And that's kind of like what I'm using as the base for making the character design. So I'm trying to get some sort of like unity between the characters and then the other NPCs and such in the world.
Of course.
Not easy considering like 2 months ago I knew nothing about this.
Well, you know, actually you progressed really fast because you did it every day, so it's also that. I think these are much better, like, compared to where you started. Not even close.
Yeah, see, like, I'm getting into the stage of where I've kind of got fundamentals down, and now I'm thinking more beyond the fundamentals and like the actual style and interpretation, more so than just being able to make a sphere in sprite art.
Right. I'd like to try Brave Exvius at some point.
It's free. I mean, it's a mobile game, but
yeah, that's the problem. I don't have a decent phone to try it on. I think I actually might have. You know what? I think I tried to install it and it was not working because it was too slow.
Did you end up buying a Kindle?
No. But I'm feeling, because I keep buying books. Like I bought some books on marketing by Seth Goldwyn, something like that. And I feel like, God, I'm not gonna be able to take these books with me. I will take my notes, and I'm taking. When I read the book, I highlight parts, then I reread them, and then I rewrite that chapter basically. And then I take the thing that I rewrote on paper and I move them to the computer so that I always have them like Google Docs. So that hopefully is enough. But otherwise, yeah, it kind of sucks because I cannot access the books I might need all the time. I prefer physical books, obviously, but it's starting to seem like a problem. Like in retrospective, it might become problematic.
I understand your perspective, but at the same time, I I have tons of books. I have a bookshelf full of books in my room right now, and at this point, it's difficult for me to like actually find the space to be able to put in lots and lots of more books. So having a Kindle, which already has like hundreds of books on it, is
what kind of Kindle do you have again?
I have a Fire HD10.
Okay, so it's like pretty bright because I'm trying, like, if I replace books, I want something that does not make too much light in the night because I read in the night before sleeping, so it kind of messes me up if it's too bright. Like when I was reading on the iPad, it was messing me up big time.
Yeah, I mean, you can mess with the settings of that, the brightness, and you can change the type font.
I was taking a look at the...
That's one of the first things I did is I changed it to black background with white text rather than the inverse.
I would be okay with having white paper, but it has to feel like paper. So I was looking at the paper white. I wonder if it's actually like that similar.
I think my mom has one.
She does? Yeah. Well, let me know eventually if it's like I'm not pretending it to be exactly like paper, but something close, maybe. I don't know. Something that could fool me to thinking it's paper. Because then again, when I tried reading on the iPad, it was so stressful for my eyes. Honestly, even if I tried reading black and white, and some ebooks just do not support it. So it was pretty annoying. I don't know. I'm undecided. I might get it at some point if I.
Yeah, well, I'd wait until next year when the next Prime Day comes if you're thinking about it.
Well, or Black Friday.
I guess.
I don't know. No, I didn't have the money to buy it now. I was just considering it because it seems convenient. A friend of mine's wife has it. She actually showed it to me. I don't think it was paper white though. And I thought, man, this is actually bright. So I don't know if I can if I can do that. I'll see. Just want to find something that I'm not replacing books completely. Like depending on the book it is though. Like if it's something I need to read, like I'm actually learning from it, then yeah, I might need that book at some point when I'm not home. And
well, unfortunately, there's a significant number of books that haven't been converted to ebook format yet. So some of them, you're going to be forced to take the print copy.
Yeah, but like, okay, like if it's a novel, if it's an important novel, like say I have not read the Blade Runner novel. I forgot the name of. If androids
do androids dream of electric sheep.
Yeah, so I haven't read that, but that I would probably buy physical. Because I'm like, I don't need to constantly have access to it. If I forget something, it's fine. Like I can look it up or whatever. But if I have a book like the ones I'm marketing that I'm reading, I might need some piece of information. I'm not being able to access it is kind of annoying. So if I have the Kindle, I can just open it and access it. So that would be
you can
useful.
highlight and bookmark pages, and then you can go to the beginning and
right.
just access whatever you need.
It kind of bugs me though that I wouldn't be able to have the whole book at once. Like sometimes I open one page and I keep one finger on another page so that I can see both at the same time to compare things. That kind of annoys me of a digital reader. But I guess it's got other advantages also. So we'll see.
By the way, did you end up reading the story I sent you?
Not finished.
Okay.
Not finished. I might finish it after the stream actually. I only read like the very beginning, like when then today I honestly forgot. I could have done it today, but I completely forgot. I got.
It really.
Can I say it?
Shouldn't take too long to read.
No, yeah, I know. I just completely forgot because I started reading it when my internet was out.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go take a shower now. And I was supposed to finish it the next day, but I didn't. I got it's basically the beginning. I didn't read as much. Where I'm assuming, I don't know, can I say it? Or is it spoiler?
No, go ahead.
So when they meet up at Mabel's with the other guy to, I guess, I'm assuming rob it. I don't know.
No, they're trying to get money from him.
Oh, okay. I thought they wanted to rob the shop. That's why they had the gun.
No.
Okay. I know he owes money to one of the guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're basically going there. Well, the Dun is there to threaten him.
Okay. Because he pulled a gun and he was a parking lot. At some point, actually, I did not understand one thing. I'm not sure. I think he was trying to open. Was he trying to open the window or something? And I thought he was actually trying to break into someone else's car because I'm not very familiar with all of the specifically American words. So cracking the window open is not a thing I thought about when I read it. Then I figured it out. But
right, that just means lowering your window.
Yeah, I figured it out. Because I had to reread it like twice. Like, wait a second. Because he pulled the gun. I'm like, did he just break a window with the gun? No. But yeah, it's fast paced. I feel like the fact that, I don't know, I guess it's intentional. The fact that some sentences are very short in some specific moments is meant to quicken the pace, like make you feel like urgency or something.
Yeah, you know what? I think maybe I'll let you read it, and then you can do a more in-depth analysis, and I can talk about it more.
All right.
But yeah, I was very specifically trying to write this in the style of somebody else.
Okay. Do I know this author or not?
Raymond Carver.
No, I don't. I do not know him. I see.
Although it's actually the story that I wrote is part of another series of books. Or there's a short story collection by Dennis Johnson called Jesus' Son, and this the workshop I took. I was partaking in that I wrote this story in. That was kind of the assignment. We had to write a short story that would fit into the collection itself. So I was kind of trying to write in the same style that he wrote that book in, although it ended up being more Raymond Carver-esque and it's sort of minimalist style. But that's the way whenever I wrote short stories or anything a little more literary, that's kind of the style I go for, is more minimalist, sort of Ernest Hemingway style. Because I mean, the way I wrote the story is how Hemingway writes his stuff. It's very, it's the iceberg theory of literary thought, where you kind of, the story isn't just what's being told, it's what's not being said. That's also the story. So that's kind of the way you have to approach it. You have to think about not just what's being shown and what's being said, but what's not being said, that kind of thing.
Okay. I see. Yeah, I don't think I've read beyond school. I've read anything from Hemingway. I know I should, but I did not. Especially not. No, it might have been in English actually, because it was for English class. So I just don't remember anything.
Well, minimalism isn't everyone's favorite style of writing, but I particularly like it because it's almost like solving a puzzle, where it's like, okay, you have information here, but you also have information that's not given, and so you have to intuit the meaning of the story by sort of conflating what's being said and what's not being said. And that, to me, is some of the beauty of Hemingway's short stories that he wrote. Like the classic example of that is Hills Like White Elephants, where the entire short story is basically a man and a woman in the subway station talking. And then you read the whole story and there's like a lot of subtext that's never really explained. And then you go online and you realize that, the story is about abortion, right? That kind of thing. They never use the word abortion, but the woman in the story is thinking about aborting the child. She never says that directly, but you intuit that from her responses and the way she's reacting to the environment. And that's kind of like, that's sort of like where that's where the thought process, the intelligence of the writing comes into play, where you have to understand that the reader is reading these things and interpreting them in certain fashions, and it's looking at body language, it's looking at what people are saying, how they're saying it, rather than just saying it outright. And that's something that I like. I don't like taking writing and beating someone over the head with the point. I want them to sort of understand the point subtly, that kind of thing.
That's cool, yeah. I kind of like to intuit things, so that might work well with me. It might work pretty well. In fact, one of the most recent shows that I watched was called Dark. It's a German show, actually, from Netflix, but it's actually pretty good. And it doesn't tell you much, so it does at the end more or less everything, but throughout the story you're basically trying to guess what's going on, because they're not telling you a lot of things. So that's right. Actually pretty interesting for me.
Yeah, and like when it comes to visual media, it's a lot harder to do that, because the whole point is that you're conveying things visually to people. But like, I suppose like the closest analog would be somebody like David Lynch, you know, who made like Eraserhead and things like that. Like, to me, where it's like, I'm not really sure what I'm watching, but I know that there's some sort of meaning behind it. It's that kind of thing where it's like, this almost feels like there's no point to it, but there actually is a point, and you have to determine what the point is.
I see. Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. So you're saying that that's how Hemingway writes?
Oh yeah, that's what he was famous for. It's a sort of minimalism and very short, truncated sentences and very matter-of-factly stating things. But the real thought processes was behind what do those things mean? Because he's not just writing and describing things for the sake of writing and describing them, which in a lot of genre writing, you see that, where it's like you read a fantasy novel or a science fiction novel and they describe things in like laborious detail. Where it's like, she was wearing this, and here's what the general surroundings look like. Yeah. And it's like, he totally cut that out, and he's like, it's not about what the surroundings look like, and if you're describing something, it should be about the characterization. So for him, it was like, I'm cutting out all of that, and I'm just focusing on the character interactions.
Right.
Basically.
I like it. Well, that's what drives the story anyway, in the end. So, at least for me, I think there's no good story without good characters. So.
Yeah, I mean, like that's just, it's a preference in terms of writing, because I do appreciate when novelists are really good at describing things, and they use, you know, the very interesting language to describe environments and people. But at the same time, I am sort of more of the mindset of where it's like, I don't like to describe characters by how they look. I like to describe them as people. How do they interact with other people? That tells you more about them than necessarily what they're wearing, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Unless you're an emo. But that's another story. Yeah, that's something I can agree with. I also prefer to have characters described by their behavior versus what they wear. It's also harder, I guess, to come up with a good character concept just talking about what he or she does versus, hey, well, he looks like this, he's got a beard and he's got a rugged look. So
that is one benefit of visual media, like video games, is like, if you put like a video game into a novel, you would probably have paragraphs and paragraphs describing how somebody looks. Yeah. Could you imagine if they made like a novelization of FF7 and like how they would have to describe Cloud's garb? It's like, yeah, he's wearing a dark purple tunic, and he's got a giant bolted shoulder pad on his left side or whatever. And it's like, well, thankfully in the concept of a video game, you don't have to describe those things to the audience. They can take that in for themselves. And then it's more about how does Cloud react to the environment and the other people around him.
I like that approach better, personally. Oh.
And that's another point of personal preference, because some people don't like games with silent protagonists and other people do. And So I should clarify that Vicanaut's Wolf is not a silent protagonist. He's
That's
actually
good.
very opinionated.
I don't like selling
and my-
protagonists.
Well,
honestly.
I understand the point of like the main character being sort of the stand-in for the player and trying to create that immersion, but then I think it breaks immersion when the character isn't reacting
Yep.
to the things around
Exactly.
them. And so like Dragon Quest to this day still does this, and that was something where it's like in Dragon Quest 11, right? The main character doesn't say anything, and it's like in this 130-hour epic grand narrative, we never really understand who the player character is, and I feel like when you do that, you really
So
you kind of lessen the connection by not understanding
Yeah.
who the main character is.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like it becomes irrelevant. Like who? I don't feel like. I think it's harder to just make a connection with a character that doesn't talk, because you gotta find someone who's got some sort of characteristic that you admire, and so you're like either I see myself in this, or I would like to be like that. In Dragon Quest, you can't. That's probably one of the reasons why I'm more hesitant or I have been more hesitant to play Dragon Quest. Because when I played Dragon Quest 8, yeah, it was a nice game. It's a good game. It's a very good game, but it really kind of bores me because the character, the protagonist, Gohan, doesn't really do anything. And it feels weak and kind of dumb to a degree and passive. And I don't really like that.
Well, you kind of,
honest.
yeah, because this is a person, and in terms of the narrative,
Come on, why? What the hell? There, it's back. Maybe, hopefully. Ah, come on. It keeps going up and down, basically.
yep.
Oh, if he keeps doing this, I will just use YouTube. Whatever. Because connecting.
Okay, now it's live.
Yeah, it's live. Hey, nobody. I'm writing restream. This is annoying.
Hey. Yeah, thankfully the YouTube stream never went down.
Never?
Well, it did originally, but after that, no.
Okay, well, hopefully it stays. But yesterday, I think it was around this time. Honestly. It must have been around this time. I don't know what happens. But because I think I have like 940. I remember 949 at some point. So I really have no idea. I didn't...
It's weird because, whenever I was doing streams, I think it was like around an hour in when mine would go down too.
And you were streaming around this time too, actually.
I wonder if there's some sort of throttle that they have
It could be.
related to bandwidth or something. I don't know.
It could be because it was around this time. Yeah, I never had this problem when I was streaming in the afternoon. But the other guy I was streaming with also streams in the evening, and he said that from Thursday to Sunday he had problems. Pretty much ever since he started using a Restream. So thanks for reaching out to Restream support. My name is Malaki. What the hell of a name is that? Excuse me.
Are you sure it's not Malachi?
I don't know. It could be. I don't know how to read it. It could be Malachi, yeah. I know it sounds Indian, so I don't know how you read it. Whatever. I'm tired of this though. This has been happening pretty much since last week. And
About just every stream past week, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it happened. I might be wrong, but I don't think it happened from Monday. apart from the thunderstorms. It did not happen otherwise. From Monday and Tuesday in that case, because I think I had a storm on Wednesday. I don't know. It's annoying. We were talking about the characters, not talking characters being a little underwhelming before the stream died.
Yeah, and I was talking about so really up until FF4, like FF1, FF2, and FF3, FF2 kind of has characters, but not really. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
There's nothing really there. But then it's like, you know, if you're talking about like a silent protagonist, could you imagine if FF4 Cecil was a silent protagonist, how much that would hurt the game? Because the whole point is about his journey in becoming a paladin and him reacting to things and, you know, his father and his brother and whatnot. And it's like, if you took those things away and he just like was a silent protagonist, it wouldn't have the impact that it did.
Absolutely. I don't know. Imagine even any Final Fantasy game without talking characters after 3. I guess it's pretty much impossible. Okay, although Squall goes close to that, I guess.
Squall is different because Squall is more. He's introspective, and that's actually what I like about him. Is that rather than always voicing his thoughts, he actually thinks about things. And I like that we get to listen to his thoughts about what's happening around him. And he's an intelligent character. And so he often kind of shuts up and kind of just, I mean, that's part of his character. He's not very expressive. And that's actually one of his character arcs, is that becomes more expressive throughout the game. So I like that sort of introspective style, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a character that really has no thoughts or speech whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's just like a stand-in.
Very much. So shame on you,
Although I've
Dragon
talked
Quest.
at length about Squall's character arc and why it's not good in that game.
Yeah, I think we talked about Final Fantasy VIII several times.
The idea is good. The execution is different matter.
Idea was an interesting character that I thought was left kind of. No, you not like it was not to a degree, I guess, for story arc was